Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are diving deep into a book that has changed the game for countless traders, Mark Douglas's Trading in the Zone. We're going to unpack the huge psychological shift that you have to make if you want to find real, lasting success in the markets.
You know, it's such a strange and fascinating question, isn't it? You have these brilliant people, doctors, engineers, successful entrepreneurs, who are absolute masters in their fields. But then they step into the market and they just get wiped out. It turns out the very skills that made them successful everywhere else, things like deep analysis and always needing to be right, well, those are often the exact things that cause them to fail in trading.
And look, the numbers here are absolutely brutal. According to the book's foreword, it's estimated that a staggering 95% of traders lose all their money within their first year. Now, that isn't just a string of bad luck. No way. It points to a deep fundamental misunderstanding of what the market demands from you psychologically. And that is exactly what we're about to get into.
Okay, so to really understand the solution Mark Douglas offers, we have to first understand the problem. And for most new traders, the problem starts with a journey that feels like the right thing to do, but it actually leads straight into a wall of frustration.
Does this whole cycle feel a little too familiar? I bet it does for a lot of you. It all starts with that incredible rush of euphoria, right? You make a trade, it works out perfectly, and you think, wow, I got this. This is easy. You feel totally fearless. But then, bam, the shock of a really big loss. And it feels personal, like the market itself just stabbed you in the back. So what do? You go on this quest, convinced that the answer is more knowledge, more indicators, more books, more strategies. But even after all that work, the results are still all over the place. And that is the frustrating trap so many traders fall into.
And this leads to what Mark Douglas calls the black hole of analysis. It's this belief that if you just learn one more thing, you can finally control the outcome and eliminate risk. But the market has like a million variables. Trying to account for every single one of them is a recipe for insanity. The hard truth that Douglas lays out is this: the problem isn't that you can't trust the market. The real problem is that your own mind is set up in a way that prevents you from trusting yourself.
So this idea of not being able to trust ourselves, it really boils down to one thing. The real fight isn't with the charts or the news, it's an internal one. It's a battle that's fueled by a few really powerful, really common fears.
And here they are. Douglas says that pretty much 95% of all trading mistakes come from these four primary fears: the fear of being wrong, the fear of losing money, the fear of missing out on a great trade, and the fear of leaving money on the table by closing a winner too early. Every one of these fears can make you hesitate or jump in too soon, or just totally abandon your plan, completely sabotaging your results.
Think about it. Our brains are literally hardwired to avoid pain. It's a survival mechanism. If you touch a hot stove, you don't think about it, you just pull your hand away instantly. Well, in trading, information that goes against your trade, that feels like the hot stove. So when the market starts moving against you, your brain, on a subconscious level, actually starts to distort the information you're seeing to avoid that psychological pain. You'll start ignoring your own sell signals, or you'll focus on a tiny little tick in your favor. And in doing so, you create the very loss you were so desperately trying to avoid. It's a total backfire.
So if more analysis isn't the answer, and our own minds are working against us, then what on earth is? Well, Douglas says the solution is this massive, radical shift in how you think. It's about learning to think like a casino.
And this quote right here, this is the absolute heart of the entire book. True long-term consistency isn't going to come from finding some magic, perfect indicator on a chart. It comes from building an internal mindset, a mental framework that lets you operate calmly and objectively in an environment that is fundamentally uncertain.
And that all starts with really, truly understanding what a trading edge is. It is not a crystal ball. It's not a guarantee. An edge is simply an indication that there's a higher probability of one thing happening over another. That's it. Over a large number of trades, that slight probability gives you an advantage. But, and this is the key, it offers absolutely zero guarantees on any single individual trade.
This slide, this comparison, this is everything. This is the whole game right here. The typical trader, on the left, is completely wrapped up in the outcome of every single trade. They need to be right, and they're terrified of taking a loss. But the pro, just like a casino, is completely detached. They're not focused on one hand of blackjack. They're focused on executing their process over thousands of hands. They accept that randomness is part of the game, and they just manage their risk. They operate from a place of discipline, not fear.
This is the mantra. This is what the best traders believe in their bones. Anything can happen. And they don't just say it, they live it. Because when you truly, deeply believe that the outcome of your very next trade is totally uncertain, You stop trying to predict what's going to happen. Instead, you start preparing to react to whatever does happen. You always define your risk before you get in because you know for a fact that you could be wrong.
So how do we actually build this kind of mindset? It sounds great, but how do we get there?
Well, Douglas offers a very practical, step-by-step framework. He calls it the mechanical stage, and it's basically an exercise designed to completely rewire your brain to think in probabilities. Now, it is so important to understand that the goal of this exercise is not to make money right away. The one and only purpose is to build the skill of consistency. Think of it like a workout for your trading brain. You're training yourself to follow your system without fear, without hesitation, and without emotion, and to genuinely, truly accept the risk on every single trade you take.
The exercise itself sounds simple, but trust me, it's incredibly hard to do in practice. Step 1, you have to define a very specific objective edge, no gray area. For example, I will only trade when the price shows a rejection wick at a key support level. Step 2, you predefine your risk with a hard stop loss before you even click the buy button. Step 3, you commit to taking the next 20 trades that perfectly match your rules. And step 4, the hardest part, you execute those 20 trades perfectly with zero deviation, no matter what.
So why 20 trades? Why that number? Because it forces you to become emotionally detached from any one outcome. If you have a losing trade on trade number 3, who cares? It doesn't feel so bad when you know you still have 17 more trades to go to complete your sample size. This process mechanically forces your brain to shift its focus away from, am I right on this trade, to how is my edge performing over time? And that is the only place where consistency actually exists.
And that really brings us to the final and most important question that Mark Douglas wants every single one of us to ask ourselves. Are you reacting to the pure, unbiased, objective information that the market is giving you right here, right now? Or are you filtering that information through all your hopes, your fears, and your beliefs about what you think the market should do? The answer to that single question, well, that's the difference between endless frustration and finally trading in the zone.